handle preschool separation anxiety as a parent? To ease toddler separation anxiety at preschool drop-off, parents should establish a short, predictable goodbye ritual and then immediately leave the classroom. As sneaking out without saying goodbye or lingering in the hallway escalates a child's distress and reinforces their fear that the school environment is unsafe. Today, I'm giving you the step-by-step morning blueprint to stop the drop-off tears so that you can leave for work with total peace of mind. Hi, I'm Vivi. Honestly, there is nothing more heartbreaking than walking into a new preschool classroom and having your child cling to your legs screaming and feeling like you are torturing them just by going to work. Many parents on accident make this anxiety worse by trying to comfort their child the wrong way. So let's pull back the curtain on what is actually happening at the classroom door so that you're able to fix it this week. Okay, let's start with the two biggest mistakes that parents and nannies make at drop-off because they're coming from a place of pure love, but they completely backfire. The first is the sneak out. The child gets distracted by a water table or a puzzle and the teacher gives you that nod, you know, the one that, and you completely slip out the door without saying goodbye. On paper, it feels great because you avoided the crying scene, but psychologically, you created a massive trust crisis. The second your child looks up and realizes that their safe adult has vanished into thin air, their brain enters into a state of panic. They learn that the second they turn their backs, you disappear. This actually makes their separation anxiety 10 times worse the next morning because now they refuse to leave your side or even engage with toys and other kids out of pure fear that you will vanish again. The second mistake is the lingering parent. You say goodbye, your child starts crying. So you step back into the classroom. You hug them again and then you negotiate. You start with just 5 more minutes to calm them down. And of course, to an adult, this feels like reassurance, but to a toddler, your lingering body language sends a terrifying message. Their brain starts to think, wow, mom and dad really look nervous about leaving me here. They keep hesitating. This place must actually be dangerous. Remember guys, your anxiety fits their anxiety. The longer you stand in that doorway or you peek through the window, the longer you prolong their nervous system fight or flight response. So how do we fix this? You need to implement a strict, predictable goodbye ritual. And it needs to take less than 60 seconds from when you cross the classroom threshold. The ritual starts before you leave the house. You map out exactly what is going to happen. You tell your child, when we get to school, we're going to hang your backpack, give one big hug, a high five, and then mommy is going to work and you are going to play. You practice this at home. When you get to the classroom door, you execute the script word for word. You drop to their eye level, you deliver the hug, you deliver the high five, and you say this exact phrase, I always come back. And then you turn around and you walk out the door. Do not turn back if they start crying. And of course, do not look back through the window. The hardest part of this blueprint is understanding that the crying almost always stops within a minute or two of you leaving. Because preschool teachers are masters of distraction. The second you are out of their eyesight, the child realizes that crying is no longer an option that will change the situation, and they naturally pivot into looking at other toys or playing with other kids. If you stay, you are keeping them in a state of limbo where they think crying might convince you to stay. Now, let's talk about the logistics at home because a rough drop-off often starts the night before. If your child is starting preschool, their morning routine needs to be incredibly predictable. A tired, hungry child has zero emotional resilience to handle a separation. So ensure their bedtime is pushed up by 30 minutes during the first month of school to combat the sheer exhaustion of group environment simulation. If you have a nanny who handles morning drop-off, they must also follow the exact same 60-second blueprint. Because remember, consistency is the only way a child's brain builds a predictable pattern. If your child has a severe attachment to you, try letting the nanny handle the preschool drop-off for a week, and of course vice versa. Now, what happens if the crying doesn't stop after 2 weeks? There is a critical difference between a normal developmental transition and a true behavior regression that requires an entire different intervention. Before I show you how to read your child's evening behavior to know if school is a bad fit, hit that subscribe button because it really helps. To know if the separation anxiety is normal, look at their behavior at home. If your child is eating well, sleeping through the night, and generally happy on weekend, then the drop-off crying is just a standard boundary test. They're simply expressing that they prefer you over school, which is totally normal. But if they start waking up with night terrors, completely refusing meals, or showing massive behavior regression, like sudden potty accidents after being fully trained, their nervous system is in a state of chronic overload. This is when you sit down with the teacher and you say, hey, let's look at a shorter schedule or an onboarding bridge, because their bucket is completely overflowing. Getting the morning drop-offs moved is the absolutely best way to start the day. But a peaceful morning means nothing if the afternoon turns into an absolute battle. If your child survived the morning goodbyes, but turns into a screaming monster the second they get picked up at 3:30, I need you to watch my video on why my child is having a meltdown after school. It will be right here, and I'll see you over there. Bye guys!